Hi everyone, this is Bree from The Scientific Vegan, and today I'm making the first video in a series of monthly videos called the Monthly Roundup. At least it will be called that until I can think of a slightly more intriguing and creative title. But for now, the Monthly Roundup, where I talk about all the latest scientific research that's been released in the previous month or two that pertains in any way to veganism. So it could be stuff about health, the environment, sustainability, anything that's interesting that I think is worth talking about and that I want to share with you. So I think I've got about 5 things to tell you about today, the first of which comes to us from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America, which just rolls off the tongue, but it's got some pretty compelling and interesting findings. So this research team found that the USA could feed an additional 350 million people by using vegan replacements for animal products. So if the USA eliminated beef, pork, dairy, poultry, and eggs, and used all the land required to grow food for those animals and grow those animals themselves, and instead grew plant products, the USA could produce 2 to 20 times more food with the equivalent nutrition of all those other animal products. So the researchers talk about how animal-based diets aren't very efficient. There's a lot of wastage from the whole supply chain. So the supply chain is, growing the food to feed to the animals, to process the animals, to get them to the supermarket. There's a lot of waste along that chain that could have gone towards resources to put food in people's mouths. And even if you streamlined that chain, made it perfect, made sure there was no waste, plant-based diets would still be more efficient and would feed more people. Some people might be thinking, what would happen to the farmers? What would happen to the economy? The researchers do admit it's difficult to predict, but that there would probably be some economic benefit from decreased medical expenses due to increased health from a plant-based diet, as well as a reduction in greenhouse gases, which are the key driver for climate change. So these are all things that could contribute to economic benefits. News item number 2. My second study to tell you about has found the most nutritious and beneficial foods for different types of vegetarian, semi-vegetarian, vegan diets, and has found that almonds, chia seeds, mushrooms, cherimoya, frozen lima beans, and frozen green peas are the most beneficial and nutrient-dense foods that you could eat on a vegan diet. Definitely all foods that I eat regularly. I like this study because it acknowledged the possibilities of deficiencies amongst all types of diets and then found foods to fill in those gaps accordingly. And the exception of which is, of course, vitamin B12, which you cannot get naturally from any non-supplemented vegan product. So take your vitamin B12 supplement, and to save you the rant, I will link right here to my vitamin B12 video. So frozen immature lima beans were flagged as being an awesome source of amino acids for the vegan diet, including isoleucine, lysine, valine, and methionine. And similarly, frozen green peas also had a bunch of really beneficial amino acids. Number 3. The third piece of research was actually published in February, but I was so excited to find it that I just had to tell you about it. So it was what I think is the first scientific paper published about aquafaba, aka chickpea water, and it was just so surreal to see, because I remember when it first started being talked about on the internet, and now we've got scientific literature about it, which is pretty cool. I just have to read you out the actual title of this paper: Composition and Properties of Aquafaba, Water Recovered from Commercially Canned Chickpeas, which I just think is so cool. And I love this because it talked about the internet communities that aquafaba came from and how the internet gave it its name as well. It didn't mention this, but I think the biggest community has been the Aquafaba Meringue Hits and Misses Facebook page, which if you're not a member of, you should go join, because it's got a lot of amazing recipes for how to make meringue using aquafaba and all different kinds of other things. It can be used as an egg replacement and a lot of other stuff. And it's got a lot of funny pictures, and it's a really great community, so you should go check that out. So they did some pretty legit chemistry experiments on aquafaba, and they say that this information will be able to help make an aquafaba standard and help consumers select the best aquafaba products. So they talk about how in commercial canneries, they are working towards making chickpeas the same no matter what can you buy, no matter what brand you buy. But of course, they're not trying to make the aquafaba the same in every can, so there's differences across the board. Interestingly, results suggested that additives that are sometimes added to commercially canned chickpeas, such as salt and disodium EDTA, can actually reduce the stability of the foam, which goes against our collective wisdom that sometimes salt can help make aquafaba foam more stable. So thanks, science, for that tip to get stiff peaks on our aquafaba. Why won't they be stiff? And super useful if anyone is interested in following or does follow a low FODMAP diet as a way to help irritable bowel syndrome. Monash University has released a paper detailing a whole bunch of low FODMAP options for vegans and vegetarians. FODMAP foods are those that contain fermentable short-chain carbohydrates, which aren't absorbed well by the gut and can trigger or cause irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. And so low FODMAP foods contain as few, ideally none, of these fermentable short-chain carbohydrates as possible. I remember this diet was suggested to me by a gastroenterologist a couple of years ago, and I looked at the list and was like, I can eat 8 foods on this list. I'll be taking my chronic pain and leaving. Thank you. A lot of vegan fan favorites on this list: tempeh, coconut milk, nutritional yeast, wheat gluten. So I'm sure that could open up a lot of possibilities for certain people. So that's about it. If you found this video helpful or like the idea or have something I might be able to discuss next time, you don't have to like, you don't have to subscribe, but if you took the time to leave me a comment, tell me if it's useful, tell me if it's not useful, and then I can guilt-free go back to my Xbox, because I've got about 18 games I haven't played and it's really stressing me out. But anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks for watching. If you got this far, I'll see you next time. Thanks, bye.